The moment I heard my own daughter-in-law whisper those words into her phone, she's too old to notice. Standing right there in my kitchen, drinking my coffee, I knew my life was about to change forever. My name is Beatrice Williams. I'm 73 years old and I've lived in Durham, North Carolina my entire life. For 35 years, I taught second grade at Hillside Elementary, watching generations of children learn to read, write, and find their voices. I retired 8 years ago, thinking I'd finally get to enjoy the peace and quiet I'd earned. My husband Marcus, God rest his soul, passed 5 years back. Heart attack, sudden as a summer storm. 44 years we had together, and not a day goes by I don't miss that man. Marcus was a postal worker, steady and reliable as sunrise, but his real talent was building things with his hands. This house I'm sitting in right now. He built it himself back in 1982, board by board, nail by nail. Took him 2 years, working evenings and weekends with his brothers. I can still see him up on that roof in the July heat, sweat running down his face, refusing to quit until the job was done right. We raised our 3 children here, James, Patricia, and Marcus Jr. This house holds every birthday party, every scraped knee kissed better, every report card celebrated at the kitchen table. The house is paid off, has been for years. It's all mine, free and clear, sitting in a neighborhood that's gotten real nice over the decades. Property values went up something considerable. But I'm not selling. This is Marcus's legacy. This is where I'm staying until the good Lord calls me home, and then it'll go to my children like it should. Now my son James, he's 45, works hard as an HVAC technician. Good man, takes after his father. 3 years ago, he married Simone. She's 38, pretty woman, always dressed nice, hair and nails done. Doesn't work outside the home, says she's focused on being a good wife. They live in an apartment over on Fayetteville Street. Nothing fancy, but it's theirs. When James first brought Simone around, I welcomed her with open arms. That's what you do. You embrace your children's choices. You make family out of strangers through love and time. I taught her my peach cobbler recipe, the one Marcus loved best. I gave her my mother's cornbread pan, the cast iron one seasoned over 60 years. I invited her to church, introduced her to my friends, treated her like the daughter-in-law I hoped she'd be. And for a while, everything seemed fine, nice even. Simone started visiting me 3-4 times a week. "Just checking on you, Mama Bea," she'd say, sweet as sugar. She'd bring coffee from that fancy shop downtown, sit with me in the living room, ask about my day. I never asked her to come by so often. Truth be told, I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself, but I didn't want to seem ungrateful or standoffish. She was family now. Family looks after each other. She has keys to the house. I gave them to her myself about a year ago when James said it would be good for someone nearby to have access just in case. In case of what, I didn't know, but it seemed reasonable at the time. My other children, Patricia and Marcus Jr., they're doing well for themselves, but they're far away. Patricia's in Atlanta, works in hospital administration, married with 2 teenagers. Marcus Jr.'s in Chicago, software engineer, got a little boy of his own now. They call regularly, visit when they can, but it's James who's here in Durham. James who can drive over in 15 minutes if I need something. So I understood when they said, "We're glad James is there to look after you, Mama." But here's the thing, baby, and if you're just tuning in, you need to hear this. I didn't need looking after. Not then, not now. My mind is sharp as it ever was. I balance my checkbook to the penny. I remember my students' names from 30 years back. I can quote scripture I memorized as a child and recipes I learned from my grandmother. I am not confused. I am not forgetful. I am not declining. But for the past 6 months, small things had been happening that made me question myself. It started with my pearl earrings, the ones Marcus gave me for our 20th anniversary. I kept them in my jewelry box, wore them to church on special Sundays. One day, I reached for them and they were gone. I searched everywhere, the bathroom counter, the dresser, even checked the pockets of the dress I'd last worn them with. Nothing. I figured I'd misplaced them somehow, though I couldn't imagine where. Then there was the $20 that went missing from my purse. I always keep a little cash on hand and I'm careful about it. But one afternoon, I went to pay the yard man and came up short. I could have sworn I had a 20 in my wallet, but it wasn't there. Simone was visiting that day. When I mentioned it, she said, "Mama Bia, didn't you pay the hairstylist with that 20 on Tuesday?" I stood there in my own kitchen trying to remember. Had I? I go to the salon every other Friday, and I always tip in cash. Maybe I had used it. The doubt crept in like cold through a cracked window. My mother's gold locket disappeared next. That one hurt. Mama gave it to me on my wedding day, and inside were tiny photos of her and my father. I wore it on special occasions, kept it safe in the velvet compartment of my jewelry box. When I looked for it one Sunday morning before church, it was gone. I tore that bedroom apart looking for it. Checked behind the dresser, under the bed, through every drawer. Simone helped me search, patient and kind, saying, "Don't worry, Mama B. It probably just fell somewhere. We'll find it." We never did, and every time something went missing, every time I couldn't find something I knew I'd had, Simone would smile gently and say, "Mama Bia, you're just forgetting where you put things. It happens, you're not as young as you used to be." Even James started saying it. "Ma, maybe you should start writing stuff down. Keep a list of where you put important things." He meant well, I know he did, but hearing my own son suggest I was getting forgetful, that cut deep. I started to doubt myself, started to wonder if maybe they were right. Maybe I was slipping and just didn't want to admit it. That's what getting old means, isn't it? Losing things, forgetting things, becoming a burden to your children. But then came that Tuesday morning in late September. The morning everything changed. It was around 10:30. The weather was just starting to turn cool, that first hint of fall in the air. I was upstairs in my bedroom folding laundry fresh from the dryer, still warm, the smell of detergent and fabric softener filling the room. I heard Simone's car pull up outside, heard her key in the front door. She called up, "Mama B, it's me," like she always did. "Come on in, baby," I called back. "I'm just folding clothes." I heard her moving around downstairs, the sound of her setting something on the kitchen counter, the refrigerator door opening and closing. Then I heard her voice talking on her phone. The words were muffled at first, but something made me stop folding, made me walk quietly to the top of the stairs. And that's when I heard it, clear as a bell. "Girl, she's too old to notice half of what goes on around here. Trust me, this is easier than I thought." I froze, my hand gripping the banister so tight my knuckles went pale. My heart started beating hard in my chest, the way it does when you know something's wrong but your mind hasn't caught up yet. Simone laughed, that light, easy laugh I'd heard 100 times over Sunday dinners. "Yeah, I'll call you back later. Let me go check on her." I heard her footsteps heading toward the stairs and I moved quick, stepping back into the bedroom, my pulse pounding in my ears. "Mama B?" She called up sweetly. "You need something? I thought I heard you moving around." I took a breath, steadied myself, and walked to the top of the stairs like I'd just come out. "Oh, hi, honey. I was just coming down to see if you wanted some lunch." "That's sweet," she said, smiling up at me, her face open and kind. "I already ate, but I'll sit with you if you want to make yourself something." We went to the kitchen. She poured herself coffee from the pot I'd made that morning. We sat at the table and talked about nothing. The weather, church announcements, a sale at the grocery store. Normal conversation, the kind we'd had dozens of times before. But everything was different now, because something cold had settled deep in my stomach, something that whispered back to me, "She thinks you're too old to notice." After she left that afternoon, I sat in my living room for a long time, just thinking about every missing item, every dismissive comment, every time I'd been made to doubt my own mind. If you're watching, This, baby, I want you to do something for me. Hit that like button to bring a little sunshine to this old teacher's heart. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss what happens next, because this story is far from over. And tell me down in the comments, where are you watching from? What time is it in your corner of the world? It makes me so happy to know who's out there listening to me, keeping me company. This story is for anyone who's ever been made to feel invisible because of your age, for anyone who's been told they're imagining things, forgetting things, losing their grip on reality, for anyone who's been underestimated and dismissed. Because what I did next, what I discovered, it's something I need to share. Not for revenge, not for sympathy, but because elder abuse hides in plain sight. It dresses up in nice clothes and brings you coffee. It smiles at you while it robs you blind. And it counts on you being too old, too trusting, or too scared to notice. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through my jewelry box piece by piece, and I made a list of everything that was there. And baby, when I looked at that list compared to what I remembered owning, my blood ran cold. At least 6 pieces were missing. Pieces I knew I hadn't misplaced. Pieces I hadn't worn in years, so I wouldn't have noticed they were gone. And I knew, right then, I had to find out the truth, no matter how ugly it might be. What I needed was proof, and I knew exactly how to get it. You need to understand something about this house before I tell you what happened next. This place isn't just wood and brick to me, it's 40 years of sacrifice made solid. I was born in Durham in 1951 when tobacco warehouses ran full steam downtown. My father, Walter, built porches all over Walltown. My mother, Ruby, cleaned houses in Forest Hills, catching the bus before dawn, coming home after dark with swollen feet. 4 children in a 2-bedroom rental, but we never forgot we were somebody. Being the oldest, I helped Mama with everything. Started cleaning houses with her at 14. Every penny went into a coffee can for better days. Those days came when I got a scholarship to North Carolina Central University, first in my family. Studied elementary education while working nights at the hospital cafeteria, graduated with honors in 1972. That summer at White Rock Baptist Social, I met Marcus Williams, 23, fresh from the Army, working postal. When he walked me back after dancing to Sam Cooke, he said, "Miss Hayes, I believe I just met my future." We married in my parents' backyard in June 1974. I wore Mama's altered dress. Marcus wore his postal uniform pressed razor sharp. Our first apartment on Alston Avenue had concrete blocks for a coffee table, but it was ours. We worked ourselves to the bone. Marcus carried mail 6 days, did construction weekends. I taught 2nd grade at Hillside Elementary, tutored evenings. Beans and rice most nights, patches on our patches, but we saved every dollar at Mechanics and Farmers Bank. $5,000 for land, that was our dream. 1978, we had it. Bought 2 acres on Durham's Edge for $4,200, everything we had, plus borrowed money. Marcus drew the house plans on graph paper at our kitchen table. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a real family home. Took him 2 years to build it, working evenings and weekends with his brothers Samuel and Theodore. I'd bring Saturday lunch, find him covered in sawdust, grinning. "Look at this, B," showing me perfect window frames. "We're building something that'll last." We moved in October 1982, me 7 months pregnant with James. Patricia came 2 years later, Marcus Jr. 3 years after that. This house held every first step, every birthday, every homework session at the oak table Marcus built. We paid off the mortgage in 1998. Marcus framed that satisfaction letter, hung it in his study. "Free and clear, B. Nobody can take this from us now." May 15th, 2018, Marcus went to work like always. By noon, he was gone. Heart attack in the mail truck. 67 years old, 2 years from retirement. The neighborhood gentrified around me. Young professionals tearing down old houses, building monuments to success. Real estate agents calling, leaving cards. One told me this place could fetch $425,000. Marcus and I couldn't have imagined that number saving quarters in coffee cans. But this house isn't for sale. It's my children's inheritance, their father's legacy. Which brings me to what started after I heard Simone's whisper. Next morning, 9 sharp, she arrived with $5 coffee. Morning, Mama Bia. Brought you that vanilla latte you like. I don't like vanilla lattes, never said I did. But I smiled, accepted the cup, noticed how she watched me drink, relaxed when I swallowed. 20 minutes later, I felt foggy. By 10, couldn't keep my eyes open. You look tired, Mama Bia. Simone guided me to the couch. Rest a bit, I'll tidy up. I dozed against my will, woke 2 hours later with thick head, Simone gone. The coffee cup washed, put away. No evidence except the heaviness, the lost time. This happened 3 more times that week. By Thursday, when she went to the bathroom, I poured that coffee straight down the sink, replaced it with my own. When she returned, I sipped like nothing changed. She stayed 3 hours, waiting, checking her phone, glancing at me, finally left at noon. The moment her car disappeared, I called my friend Dolores. Dee, listen careful. If I seem confused or forgetful, someone might be doing it to me on purpose. Friday afternoon, watering my roses, a white sedan pulled up. Professional woman, navy suit, leather folder. Walked straight to my door, didn't see me by the roses. Simone opened before she knocked, like she'd been waiting. They talked close, Simone nervous, until she spotted me. Her face changed. Surprise, worry, fake smile. Mama Bia, this lady's from the Jehovah's Witnesses. The woman looked confused, then caught Simone's look. Yes, I'm here about spiritual matters. Voice all wrong, uncertain, too formal. Simone handed her a manila folder thick with papers. Woman left quick. No pamphlets, no Bible, nothing but that folder. Monday, doing laundry, I heard Simone downstairs. Crept to the stairs, watched her photographing everything. The mantel clock from Marcus's father. Click. Grandmother's china that survived the journey from Virginia. Click. Original pine floors Marcus salvaged. Click, click, click. What are you doing, honey? I asked, coming down. She startled, recovered fast. Oh, sending James pictures, showing him how well you're keeping house. He worries. James worries? My son who hadn't mentioned the house in months? Who grew up here, knows every inch. I smiled, filed away another lie. Wednesday evening, James stopped by after work. We were in the kitchen when Simone called. Yeah, I'm at Ma's now. Wait, what? She left the stove on? I haven't cooked all week, son. Been eating salads. He looked confused. Ma says she hasn't been cooking. No, baby, she's right here. When he hung up, Simone says she found the stove burning yesterday. No pot. Yesterday, I was at Pearl's funeral all day. You sent flowers. Something flickered in his eyes. Doubt. But not about Simone. About me. His mother, who taught him to read, who never forgot a school play, who managed 25 7-year-olds for 35 years. He was doubting me. That's when I knew. Simone wasn't just stealing, she was poisoning my son's mind, making him see me as feeble, failing. But the worst came when I checked our safe deposit box. Marcus's emergency fund, 24 gold eagles. I counted 3 times, 12 missing, half gone. Only 3 people had keys, me, James, and Simone. Bank records showed 3 accesses I didn't recognize. All when I was elsewhere. Church, doctor appointments, visiting Patricia. I sat in that bank parking lot and cried. Baby. Cried for the trust I'd given. Cried for my son who couldn't see what was happening. Cried for Marcus who would have known what to do. But then I dried my eyes and made a decision. I wasn't going to be made a fool in my own home. I wasn't too old to notice, and I was going to prove it. That's when I called my nephew Raymond, who works in security, and asked him a question I never thought I'd ask. How do I install hidden cameras in my house? Raymond showed up at my door 20 minutes after I called him. Didn't even wait for me to explain over the phone. Just said, "I'm on my way, Auntie." My nephew is 38 now, built solid, works installing security systems for banks downtown. When my sister Loretta had him young, I helped raise him, taught him to read in my classroom after school, fed him dinner when Loretta worked doubles. The look on his face when I opened that door, pure fury mixed with hurt, told me he still saw me as a second mother. "Auntie B, tell me everything, don't leave nothing out." So I told him. The whisper, the missing jewelry, the drugged coffee I'd been pouring down the sink. His jaw tightened with each word. When I got to the missing gold coins, he stood up, paced my living room. 12 coins, Ray. 12 of Marcus's gold eagles. Gone. That woman is stealing from you and trying to make you look crazy while she does it. Auntie, we're handling this today. He showed me pictures on his phone. Tiny cameras no bigger than buttons. Wireless, motion activated, connects to your phone. You can watch live or review 72 hours of footage. Ray, I don't know. Putting cameras in my own house, spying on family? He took my hands. She's not acting like family. Family doesn't drug your coffee. Family doesn't steal your emergency fund. If she's got nothing to hide, she won't know they're there. That decided it. Only someone guilty would have reason to worry. "How much?" I asked, knowing my pension didn't stretch far. "Not a penny. This is family looking out for family the way it's supposed to be." Thursday morning, 8 sharp, Raymond arrived with a small black bag. 6 cameras inside, each smaller than a quarter. "We need to be strategic," he said, spreading them on my kitchen table. Coverage of main areas, but invisible. In the living room, he tucked one inside a decorative ceramic bird on the bookshelf, lens peeking through the bird's eye, capturing the entire room and hallway. Kitchen camera went in the artificial plant on the refrigerator, covering the table, back door, and counter where Simone made that drugged coffee. "This is hard, Auntie," Raymond said at my bedroom door. "I know it feels wrong." It did. This room held 44 years with Marcus, but I remembered Simone's fingers on my mother's jewelry. "Put it in." He hid it in the tissue box cover on my dresser, Marcus's mother's needlepoint roses. Could see the whole room, especially the jewelry box. Upstairs hallway got a smoke detector with built-in camera. Marcus's study, a camera behind books watching the filing cabinet. Dining room, inside the anniversary clock, overlooking grandmother's china. Raymond downloaded an app on my phone. Tap here for live feed, swipe for recordings, motion alerts save automatically. He made me practice for an hour. By the time he left, I could navigate it, though my stomach churned looking at those feeds. "Call me the second. You see anything wrong? Don't confront her alone. Promise." "I promise, baby." Thursday dragged. I checked feeds constantly, watched myself moving through my house like a ghost. The cameras made me feel both safer and paranoid, living in a crime scene waiting to happen. Simone called that evening. "I'll stop by tomorrow morning, bring breakfast." "That sounds nice, honey." My voice stayed normal somehow. Friday morning, 9:15, Simone arrived with her key. "Mama B, brought those cinnamon muffins you like." I don't like those muffins, too sweet, but I smiled, accepted them and the coffee she brought. We sat at the kitchen table chatting about nothing while she waited for me to drink that coffee. "Excuse me, honey, need the powder room." Took the coffee with me, poured it down the sink, came back pretending to sip from the empty cup. At 10:30, Simone said, "I need to use your bathroom." But on my phone, I watched her walk past the downstairs bathroom, head upstairs to my bedroom, straight to my dresser, opened the jewelry box with practiced ease, pulled out her phone, photographed everything, my pearls, Marcus's anniversary brooch, mother's gold bangles, not stealing yet, just cataloging like an estate sale. When she came back down, I was reading the newspaper like nothing happened. After she left, I watched that footage 6 times. How comfortable she was in my bedroom. How long had this been going on? Sunday after church, lunch with James and Simone. I watched her play the perfect wife, touching James's hand, laughing at his stories. "Ma, you're quiet," James noticed. "Just tired, baby." Simone's eyes sharpened. "Sleep problems at your age can be signs of other issues." Always my age with her. Monday changed everything. Dental cleaning 9 to 11. Motion alerts showed Simone entering at 10:47 alone. Straight to Marcus's study. For 23 minutes, she photographed everything. Tax returns, bank statements, the deed, insurance policies, investment accounts. Worked methodically, replaced everything perfectly. Without cameras, I'd never have known. Tuesday afternoon was the revelation. Simone visited while I cooked dinner. Smothered chicken, rice and gravy, green beans. She settled in the living room. I pulled up the feed on my phone, watched her make a call. "Hey, it's me. Yeah, I got photos of everything." My hand stopped stirring. The house is worth at least 400,000. The jewelry alone should appraise for 15 to 20,000. I gripped the spoon until my knuckles ached. She's got stocks too, about 80,000 in investments. "Girl, this is going to work." She listened, then laughed. The sound turned my stomach. "He doesn't suspect a thing. James thinks she's just getting forgetful. I've got him half convinced already." My own son. Once we get the competency evaluation scheduled, it's just paperwork. Medical power of attorney, financial POA, everything. She won't know what hit her. Competency evaluation. They were planning to declare me unfit, take control of everything. The lawyer said with the right doctor, it's easy to prove diminished capacity. Especially at her age, they expect it. A lawyer. This was conspiracy. I wanted to storm in, throw her out, call everyone. But Raymond's voice echoed, "Build your case." So I smiled, brought her sweet tea. "Thought you might be thirsty, honey." She ended her call quick. "You're so thoughtful, Mama B." "You staying for dinner?" "Wouldn't miss it." Sip that tea like she hadn't just plotted to destroy my life. That night, after Simone left, I sat down and watched every single recording from the past week. I made notes. I took screenshots. I saved everything to a cloud account Raymond set up for me. And then I did something I never wanted to do. I called a lawyer. Because what I was seeing wasn't just theft, baby. This was conspiracy. This was elder abuse, and I wasn't going to let it happen. But first, I needed to know one more thing. Was my son James in on this? Or was he being played, just like me? The cameras were about to tell me the truth. The lawyer's office smelled like leather and old paper, and when Sharon Henderson looked up from watching my camera footage, her face told me everything I needed to know. This was worse than I thought. My pastor had given me her name, said she specialized in elder law, fought for people like me. Sharon was in her 50s, sharp as a straight razor, with eyes that had seen too much but hadn't grown cold from it. She'd watched 20 minutes of footage in silence. Simone photographing my jewelry, drugging my coffee, that phone call about competency evaluations. "Mrs. Williams," she said, closing her laptop with deliberate care. "What you're documenting here is financial exploitation and conspiracy to commit fraud. If they succeed in getting you declared incompetent, falsely, they could take control of everything. Your house, your accounts, your life." "But I have proof," I said, gripping my purse. "The cameras show everything. And that's why we're going to stop them." Sharon pulled out a legal pad, started writing. "But we need more. Keep recording. Don't tip them off. Document every interaction, every theft, every lie. We're building a case that'll stand up in court if needed." "What about James, my son?" She looked at me with sympathy. We'll need to determine if he's complicit or just another victim. Based on what you've shown me, I'm leaning toward victim. But keep watching. Wednesday morning, day 8 of surveillance, I went to Bible study like always. Sister Pearl was teaching about wolves in sheep's clothing. If only she knew how literal that lesson was in my life. When I got home, the motion alerts on my phone showed activity. My hand shook as I pulled up the footage. 10:15 a.m. Simone entering with a man, 60s white, carrying a leather briefcase. They stood in my living room, my sanctuary, discussing my possessions like I was already dead. "This is the clock I told you about," Simone said, pointing to Marcus's father's mantel clock. "19th century still works." The man examined it with greedy eyes. "I can move this for 3,000, maybe 3,500. Move it?" My blood went hot. They walked through my house, cataloging everything. The man had a notebook, writing down numbers like an accountant of theft. "China cabinet?" He opened the glass doors, touched my grandmother's dishes with his pale fingers. 6 to 8,000 for the full set. Good condition, complete service for 12. "Antique sewing table?" Simone pointed to the piece Marcus bought me for our 10th anniversary. 1,200, maybe 15 if we find the right buyer. They spent 40 minutes in my home, pricing my life. Marcus's record collection, 3,000. The Persian rug in the dining room, 2,000. My mother's silver tea service, 1,500. Total potential here is over 40,000. The man said, snapping his briefcase shut. "When can you move it all?" "Soon," Simone promised. As soon as you give me the go-ahead, we can clear it out in one afternoon." "But you're sure she won't notice?" Simone laughed, ugly and cruel. "Please, she doesn't even remember what she had for breakfast. Once we have the POA, it's all legal. Selling assets to pay for her care." I had to step outside, press my face into a dish towel, and scream. They weren't just stealing, they were planning to empty my house while I was still living in it. I called Sharon immediately. They brought an appraiser, $40,000 worth of my things. "Good," she said, which surprised me. "We have conspiracy on tape, but we still need the financial piece. Keep watching." Thursday morning, day 9, Simone arrived with her usual coffee delivery. I'd gotten used to the routine. Accept it, excuse myself, pour it out. But this time, I decided to let the camera see everything. After she left, I reviewed the kitchen footage. There it was, clear as day. Simone alone in my kitchen pulling a small brown bottle from her purse. She squeezed a dropper full of clear liquid into my coffee, stirred it carefully, replaced the bottle. Her movements were practiced, routine. How many times had she done this? The coffee she brought me, served with a smile and a "here you go, Mama B," nice and hot, was poisoned. Not to kill, but to confuse, to make me seem feeble, to build their case that I was incompetent. Friday evening, day 10, changed everything. James came for dinner alone. Simone had a headache. I made his favorites: smothered pork chops that fell off the bone, collard greens with ham hock, mac and cheese with that crispy top he loved as a child. We sat on the couch afterward, full and comfortable. When he shifted, looked uncomfortable. "Ma, Simone's been telling me things that got me worried." My chest tightened. "What things, baby?" "She said you've been forgetting stuff, leaving the stove on, asking the same questions multiple times. She's worried about you being here alone." I studied my son's face, the little boy who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, the teenager who cried when his first girlfriend broke his heart, the man who still called me every Sunday without fail. His eyes held genuine concern, real worry. He wasn't lying, he wasn't scheming, he was being played. Sharon had warned me, "Don't reveal anything until we have everything." So I lied to my own child. "Baby, I'm fine. Maybe a little tired sometimes, but sharp as ever." Doubt flickered in his eyes. Simone's poison was working. Maybe you should see a doctor, Ma, just to check. Simone knows a good neurologist. We could get you an appointment. There it was, the competency evaluation setup. Let me think about it, son. After he left, I sat in my kitchen and wept. Not from fear, but from rage. This woman had turned my son against me, made him doubt the mother who'd never forgotten a school play, a birthday, a promise. Saturday, day 11, I called my other children, set up a three-way video call. Patricia in Atlanta, Marcus Jr. in Chicago. I need to tell you both something, and I need you to watch till the end before you react. I shared my screen, showed them everything. Simone cataloging jewelry, the appraiser, the drugged coffee, that phone call about power of attorney. Patricia's face went through stages: confusion, disbelief, rage. That witch, that evil, conniving. Marcus Jr. stayed silent, jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. Does James know? No, baby, I don't think he's in on it. She's using him. Mama, we're coming home, Patricia declared. This weekend. I can fly out tomorrow, Marcus Jr. added. No, not yet. I have a plan. Sharon Henderson, my lawyer, says we need one more big piece of evidence. Then we confront her properly, legally. They agreed reluctantly. But Mama, Patricia said, you call us the second you need us. Sunday, day 12, broke my heart completely. After church, I wore my wedding rings as always. Simple gold band and modest diamond that Marcus saved 6 months to buy. Set them on the kitchen counter when I came home to wash dishes. Doorbell rang. Simone, just stopping by to say hi. We chatted 20 minutes in the living room, pleasant as poison. She left and I returned to the kitchen. My rings were gone. I knew before I even checked the footage, but I watched anyway. Simone excusing herself for water, walking to the kitchen, seeing the rings, looking around, pocketing them, getting water, returning to chat with me like she hadn't just stolen the symbols of 44 years of marriage. 40 seconds, that's all it took to steal what Marcus placed on my finger in 1974. I called Sharon. I'm done gathering evidence, I'm ready. We need her to admit it on camera or catch her in the act with witnesses. Tuesday, day 14, I called Simone. I need to talk to you and James about something important. Thursday, 2 p.m. Is everything okay, Mama B? Just come by, both of you. Then I made other calls. Patricia and Marcus Jr. Fly in Wednesday, stay at a hotel, don't contact James. Raymond, be here Thursday at 1 p.m. Sharon, Thursday at 2 p.m. We're doing this. Wednesday night, my children met me at Sharon's office. We reviewed everything. Patricia cried seeing the footage. Marcus Jr. wanted to handle it his way, the kind that ends with sirens. No, I said firmly. We do this right, legal, documented. Sharon prepared cease and desist papers, contacted police to have an officer on standby. Everything by the book. Thursday morning, I woke up before dawn. I walked through my house, this house Marcus built with his own 2 hands, and I said a prayer in every room. I prayed for strength. I prayed for the right words. I prayed that my son would see the truth and not hate me for revealing it. Then I got dressed in my Sunday best, put on my mother's pearls, and I waited. At 1 p.m., Raymond arrived with Sharon Henderson. At 1:30, Patricia and Marcus Jr. pulled up, parked down the street. At 1:45, I sat in my living room surrounded by people who loved me, and I waited for the knock on the door. When it came at exactly 2 p.m., I stood up, smoothed my dress, and opened the door to face my daughter-in-law for the last time as a fool. Because, honey, after today, everybody was going to know exactly who Simone really was. When I opened that door at exactly 2 p.m. and saw my son's trusting face next to the woman who'd been plotting to destroy me, my hand trembled on the doorknob, not from fear, but from knowing I was about to break his heart. Hey, Ma. James said, leaning in to kiss my cheek. What's this big meeting about? You sounded serious on the phone. Simone's eyes were already scanning, already calculating. She saw Raymond by the fireplace, his arms crossed, standing like the security professional he was. She saw Sharon Henderson on my sofa, legal pad in her lap, wearing that navy suit that meant business. The smile on Simone's face flickered like a candle in wind. Mama B, what's going on? Her voice pitched higher than normal. Who is this? Sit down, both of you. I didn't ask. I told. Something in my tone made James's eyebrows draw together, made him guide Simone to the couch without question. They sat close, but not touching, and I noticed how Simone's purse stayed on her shoulder, ready to run. I remained standing. After all these weeks of feeling small, of being made to doubt myself, I wanted the height. Sharon rose to stand beside me, her presence solid as a wall. James, Simone, this is Sharon Henderson, my attorney. Your attorney? James's confusion was genuine. Ma, what's happening? Are you okay? Is this about the will? No, baby. This is about the past 2 weeks. Actually, it's about the past 6 months. I took a breath, looked directly at Simone. For the past 2 weeks, I've been watching you, Simone. Her face did that thing liars' faces do, cycle through emotions quick, looking for the right one to wear. Confusion, hurt, indignation. She settled on wounded. Watching me? What are you talking about? I installed security cameras throughout my house. The blood drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. Then the recovery, quick as a blink. Cameras. Mama B, why would you do that? That's invasive. You want to talk about invasive? I kept my voice level, though my chest burned with anger. How about going through my jewelry box? How about photographing my financial documents? How about drugging my coffee? James's head snapped between us. Ma, what are you saying? I'm saying your wife has been stealing from me, James, and trying to have me declared incompetent so she could take everything else. That's ridiculous. Simone stood up, clutching her purse. James, your mother is confused. This is exactly what I've been trying to tell you. Sit down, Mrs. Williams, Sharon commanded, her voice cutting through the room like a blade. We have extensive documentation of your activities, criminal activities. Simone sat, but her leg bounced, heel tapping against my hardwood floor. Sharon nodded to Raymond, who pulled out his phone and cast it to my television. I'd insisted on the big screen. I wanted James to see everything clearly, no room for doubt. Let's start with footage from 2 weeks ago, Sharon said. The first clip played. Simone in my bedroom, opening my jewelry box with the familiarity of someone who'd done it dozens of times. Her fingers sorting through my things, my mother's things, Marcus's gifts. The camera caught her face perfectly as she photographed each piece with her phone. Simone, James's voice cracked. What were you doing? I was just looking. The words tumbled out fast. She's always misplacing things, forgetting where she puts them. I was helping her organize, taking pictures so we'd have a record. I never asked you to do that, I said quietly. Never. The next clip started. Simone in Marcus's study, photographing the house deed, bank statements, insurance papers. The camera caught her face in profile, concentrated, methodical. James stood up, paced to the window, back to the couch. Baby, why were you taking pictures of Ma's paperwork? She asked me to help get her affairs in order. Lie, I said. I never asked. Let's play the audio from this Tuesday, Sharon suggested. Raymond tapped his phone. The living room filled with Simone's voice, confident and cruel. The house is worth at least $400,000, maybe more. James froze. The jewelry pieces alone should appraise for $15,000 to $20,000. His hands clenched. Once we get the competency evaluation scheduled, it's just a matter of paperwork. We'll have medical power of attorney, financial POA, everything. The laugh that followed, that ugly, triumphant laugh. She won't know what hit her. The silence after the recording ended felt heavy enough to crush us all. James turned to face his wife, and I saw my son's heart breaking in real time. We? His voice was barely a whisper. Who's we, Simone? She didn't answer, just sat there with her jaw set, defiant. There's more, Mr. Williams, Sharon said gently. I'm sorry. The next clip showed Simone in my kitchen, pulling out the brown bottle, dropping liquid into my coffee, stirring it careful, putting the bottle away. The domestic terrorism of it, poisoning me with a smile. James's legs gave out. He sat hard on my ottoman, head in his hands. What did you put in her coffee? It was just something to help her relax. Diphenhydramine, I interrupted. Benadryl, enough to make me confused, disoriented, to make me seem like I was declining. And this, Sharon said as the final clip played, the appraiser in my house touching everything Marcus and I had built, bought, inherited, putting prices on my life while Simone promised to clear it all out in one afternoon. $40,000, I said to the room. That's what my life added up to for them. James looked up at Simone, and I'd never seen such devastation on my boy's face. Tell me this isn't real. Tell me there's an explanation. That's when her mask finally completely fell off. You want the truth, James? She stood, her pretty face twisted ugly with contempt. Your mother is sitting on $500,000 in assets while we're drowning in that apartment. She doesn't need this big house. She's old. She'll end up in a home eventually anyway. I was just speeding up the inevitable. The room went silent. Even Sharon looked shocked at the admission. You were stealing from my mother, James said, his voice hollow. I was securing our future. This all comes to you eventually anyway. What's the difference if we get it now, while we're young enough to enjoy it? The difference, I said, my voice shaking with rage, is that I'm still alive. I'm still here. I'm not some obstacle between you and an inheritance. Where are my mother's things? James demanded. The jewelry, the gold coins. Simone lifted her chin. Sold most of them. We needed money. For what? She didn't answer. I couldn't hold it in anymore. Sunday, you took my wedding rings, right off my kitchen counter, the rings Marcus put on my finger in 1974. James went pale. Dad's rings, Ma's wedding set. He turned to Simone. Tell me you didn't. They're in my purse, she said with a shrug. I was going to pawn them tomorrow. They're just rings, James, metal and stone. Get out! My son's roar shook the windows. I'd never heard him raise his voice like that, not even as a teenager. What? Get out of my mother's house right now. You're choosing her over me, your wife. You drugged my mother. You lied to me. You made me think she was losing her mind. You tried to steal my father's house. I don't even know who you are. That's when Raymond opened the door and Patricia walked in, followed by Marcus Jr. Simone's eyes went wide. What is this, an ambush? No, Patricia said, ice in every word. This is called protecting our mother. Marcus Jr. moved to James, put a hand on his shoulder. You okay, brother? James just shook his head, unable to speak. Sharon stood, pulled out official documents. Mrs. Simone Williams, you have committed multiple crimes. Financial exploitation of an elder, theft, fraud, conspiracy. Mrs. Williams has the option to press criminal charges. Additionally, a restraining order will be filed today. You are not to contact Mrs. Williams or enter this property. You will return every stolen item or their monetary equivalent within 72 hours, or we will involve law enforcement immediately. You're really going to let them do this to me? Simone asked James. I'm your wife. Were, James said. You were my wife." Simone grabbed her purse, headed for the door. Raymond blocked her path. "The rings, ma'am." She threw her purse at him with such force he had to catch it against his chest. Take it all." Raymond opened the purse, pulled out a small velvet pouch. Inside were my rings, the gold worn smooth from 44 years of wear, the modest diamonds still catching light. He handed them to me gently, like he was returning something sacred, which he was. I clutched those rings. Against my heart, felt the tears I'd been holding back finally fall. Simone stormed out, slammed the door hard enough to rattle the pictures on the wall. James collapsed into the chair, sobbing like I hadn't seen since he was small. "Ma, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. She told me you were forgetting things, and I believed her. I thought she was helping you." I went to my son, pulled his head against my stomach, stroked his hair like I did when he was a baby with bad dreams. "I know you didn't know, baby. She fooled us both." Patricia was crying too, angry tears. "We're staying in town until this is settled." "Whatever you need, Mama," Marcus Jr. added, his jaw still clenched. "I'm changing all your locks tonight," Raymond said, "and installing cameras outside too." Sharon gathered her papers. "Mrs. Williams, you did everything right. We have enough evidence to ensure she can't hurt you again." After everyone left except my children, we sat in my living room, the four of us, and we talked until the sun went down. James told me everything he'd been blind to, the little manipulations he'd missed. Patricia and Marcus Jr. shared their suspicions they'd kept quiet to avoid family drama, and I realized something important. Simone hadn't just tried to steal my house and my money. She'd tried to steal something more precious, my children's trust in me, my faith in myself, and my late husband's legacy. But she failed, because I wasn't too old to notice. I wasn't too old to fight, and I sure wasn't too old to win. 3 days after that confrontation, Simone's lawyer called Sharon. She wanted to negotiate rather than face criminal charges. Within 72 hours, we had most of my things back. My pearl earrings returned in a crumpled envelope. 8 of Marcus's gold coins, the other 4 sold but compensated at market value. Mother's locket was gone forever, but Simone paid $1,200 replacement value. Total restitution came to $8,300 in cash, plus the returned items. She signed papers agreeing never to contact me again in exchange for avoiding prosecution. The restraining order was granted for 3 years. If she comes within 500 feet of me or my home, she goes straight to jail. James filed for divorce 2 weeks later. During the asset division, he discovered Simone had opened credit cards in his name. $30,000 of debt he knew nothing about. She'd been planning this scheme long before she ever said, "I do." My son moved back into his childhood bedroom temporarily, the one with Marcus's pencil marks on the doorframe tracking his height through the years. Some nights I'd hear him crying through the walls, and I'd make him warm milk with honey like when he was small. "Ma, how did I not see it?" he'd ask, sitting at my kitchen table. "Baby, she was good at hiding, and you loved her. Love makes us blind sometimes." He's in therapy now, working through the betrayal, slowly becoming himself again. The son who calls just to hear my voice, who brings me tomatoes from his garden, who looks at me with trust instead of doubt. Patricia and Marcus Jr. visit more now. We have Sunday dinners again, rotating between houses. My grandchildren, teenagers who finally understand why Daddy moved back with Grandma for a while, hug me tighter and longer. We don't talk about Simone much, but when we do, it's without bitterness. She was a lesson we all needed to learn. The house stands strong, just like Marcus built it. I walk through these rooms differently now, not as a woman alone, but as a woman who fought for what's hers and won. The mantel clock ticks on. Grandmother's china gleams in the cabinet. On Sunday mornings, I play Marcus's old Motown records and dance in the kitchen while coffee brews. "I kept your house, Marcus," I whisper sometimes to his picture on the mantel. She didn't take it from us. The cameras are gone from inside now. I don't need to watch my own movements anymore. But there's a doorbell camera and one watching the driveway. My locks are new, keys limited to my children only. The safe deposit box has been moved to a different bank. Access restricted. Sharon helped me set up a living trust that protects everything, ironclad and unbreakable. That whisper, "She's too old to notice," still echoes sometimes, but it doesn't haunt me anymore. It reminds me that age isn't weakness, it's wisdom earned through surviving. I'm 74 now, sharper than ever, running a support group at Church for Elder Abuse Survivors. Every month we meet in the fellowship hall, share our stories over coffee and pound cake. I tell them what I tell you. Trust, but verify. When something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't let anyone make you feel powerless because of your age. And family isn't always blood. Family is who shows up when it matters. Do I forgive Simone? I'm working on it, not for her, but for me. Bitterness would let her keep hurting me, and I won't give her that power. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean being foolish. It means choosing peace over poison. To every elder watching, don't let anyone make you feel like a burden. Don't sign papers you don't understand. Ask questions, get second opinions. Your age is your strength, not your weakness. To the adult children, check on your parents, really check. Visit, don't just call. Look at their mail if they'll let you. Watch who has access to them. Elder abuse hides behind familiar faces and sweet smiles. To everyone, we live in a world that too often discards its elders, treats them as obstacles rather than treasures. That's wrong. Protect the vulnerable, speak for the silenced, and remember, cameras don't lie. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button. Let me know you're out there listening. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. I've got more stories to tell, baby. Believe that. And in the comments, tell me where you're watching from. What time is it in your corner of the world? Have you or someone you love faced something similar? Let's start a conversation that might save someone's life. Marcus used to say, "Bae, we built this house to last generations." He was right, but a house is just wood and brick. What really lasts is how we protect what matters, how we stand up when knocked down, how we fight for what's right, even when it's hard. Simone thought I was too old to notice, too weak to fight. But she learned what my students learned over 35 years. Mrs. Williams doesn't miss a thing, and Mrs. Williams doesn't back down. I'm 74 years old, living in the house my husband built, surrounded by children who love me, protected by the law and my own strength. Every morning I wake up and thank God for another day to prove that age is just a number, but wisdom? Wisdom is forever. Thank you for listening to my story, for seeing me, hearing me, believing me. This is Beatrice Williams reminding you to respect your elders, protect your loved ones, and always, always trust, but verify. God bless you, baby. Now go hug somebody you love and tell them they matter, because they do, and so do you.